Okay, we're on.
Okay.
Welcome to this special conversation brought to you by Storyhouse Works, an independent publisher based in Amsterdam. We're proud to celebrate the authors behind Unexpected Gifts, stories of change, a powerful anthology that brings together real stories of transformation, resilience, and unexpected turning points. Today, I'm joined by Hayley Rose, whose piece, Wish You Were Here, takes us on a deeply personal journey through water, brown lakes, wild canals, and Mediterranean seas as metaphors for healing, courage, and connection. Haley, we're so glad to have you here with us.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
I like that introduction. That was really good. I'm like, ooh, I want to read this. Wow. So we just chatted offline briefly, and you're in Amsterdam.
I am, yeah.
And you, I just have to ask quickly because I also have lived in Amsterdam. I live in the Netherlands as well, and I know canals. And I just want to get it for the record. You swim in the Amsterdam canals.
I do. I do. And I mean, it wasn't always, I think, yeah, from the story that I wrote, you'd be able to tell that I was kind of forced into swimming in the Amsterdam Canal.
Yeah, yeah.
Lockdown, essentially, when no other water was available. The canals were just suddenly there. You have to choose carefully which canal you swim in, though. You can't swim in all of the canals, so it's a carefully chosen spot where you can swim, or spots. Yeah,
Oh, they're different. So the water is different in different areas of the canals.
yeah, absolutely. So some of the canals get flushed through. So they're
Oh,
Yeah, some of the canals are too narrow, so you get a lot of debris trapped. So you swim in the wider canals and the ones that get flushed through kind of overnight. So yeah, and you definitely wouldn't swim in the really like right in the center those canals where there's yeah, lots of debris and bikes and all that.
okay.
You have to choose where you swim. So not every canal is accessible.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So your story, I just read your story. I loved your story, by the way. I was like holding back well, I wasn't even holding them back, but the tears just came that
Oh,
really the connection with your mother and the whole flowing water throughout the story. And it's just I
oh,
really I really enjoyed it. I
oh,
really enjoyed it.
really nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. So could you give like a just a so the book is Unexpected Gifts.
Mhm.
And Haley is a contributor. I am also a contributor. And here we're talking about the stories, but also sort of how it came about. How did you get involved with Storyhouse Works and also the process of this anthology? So we're going to talk about several things today.
Yeah.
Like, could you just give a quick recap? And we don't want to give too much away because, I
Mhm.
mean, bluntly speaking, we want people to go buy the book.
Yeah.
So, what's the name of your story and sort of what's the message you're trying to get across?
Yeah, so the name of my story is Wish You Were Here. And actually, I named the story right at the or actually, way after I'd written the story. I couldn't decide on the name. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it kind of came to me. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I'm someone who I've always dreamed of water. I don't know, water has always been
Yeah.
from a really, really young age. I don't really know why, but I've always wanted a holiday's not a holiday if there wasn't water. I've always
Oh,
was desperate to go to the swimming pool when I was a kid. I'm not an Olympic swimmer. I'm not even yeah, I'm not even a competitive swimmer, but water has just always been so present. And part of this writing this story was kind of trying to untangle that and think why, where does that come from? And so this story, what didn't start as that wasn't the purpose, but it enabled me to kind of untangle some of that. Why is water so important to me? I'm so present. Um, so yeah, that was a really lovely kind of realization to come to, is that behind these kind of deep seated needs are often very quite deep seated feelings and family histories and
yeah.
stuff. So it's beautiful. And then the Wish You Were Here. I originally had another title which was a bit darker, and Wish You Were Here is it's about kind of wanting everyone to have that experience of immersion and that feeling, but also it ties back into the story of a popular TV program that I
Yeah.
used to watch when I was a kid and dream of being somewhere else.
Yeah. I think that's an element of the story, right? Dream of being somewhere else. And
Mm.
then, like you were saying, you're in Amsterdam and there's canals and you can't swim in all of them. And
Yeah,
it's not the turquoise waters of Greece,
no,
but
no,
this is where you live.
yeah,
And so it's sort of how
yeah,
can I, and water is such a big element of your life. So how can I make do, so to
yeah.
speak, with where I am and make the best of where I am?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's kind of also quite a big part of my personality. Is I'm an eternal optimist.
Um,
I really always try and make the best out of a situation, even if it's quite dark.
yeah. 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 Me too.
Given
Yeah.
from my mother, as the story links back to my mum, but that my mother is just an incredible optimist. So I think, yeah, that is part of it, and finding the beauty in the brown, finding the beauty in
I
the
know.
canals, which some people turn their noses up at, and sometimes I do, and I go over to swim and I see a film on the top of something suspicious, and I'm like, nah, be fine. When I get in, it'll disperse and it'll be fine. But yeah, finding the, it's a bit cheesy, but finding the beauty in something which isn't typically beautiful, and yeah, so I enjoy that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, you literally just gave me the chills. I was in Amsterdam. I don't live in Amsterdam. I was in Amsterdam last night, and it's been gorgeous weather here, of course. And I took a picture. Uh, I think it was Amstel. Yeah, it's Amstel, which is a
yeah,
bigger river, right?
yeah,
And I'm on the other side, but on the other side of the Amstel, kind of far away because it's such a wide river, there are hundreds of people on the not white sandy dunes,
no,
but like the brick
yeah,
whatever pier, not it's not even a pier, right? It's just like, I don't know, brick.
yeah,
And there's just people out there as if it's Saint-Tropez. You
absolutely,
know,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
but make the most of the mundane, like
It's what you've
find the
got.
magic in the mundane.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's what you've got. It's
Oh,
your doorstep. So yeah, if you're not going to make the most of it, then yeah. So I think it's a gift that that I see it as a gift. Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm digging deeper into why I really resonated with your story so much. I also had an optimistic mother, and
Interesting.
I can see it. My dad was a pretty happy guy too, but my mom was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
it is this is, you can do it whatever with your life that you want and just
yeah,
go for it and all that." Very
yeah.
optimistic and confident and very kind of American. You can do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
it's always helped me.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, yeah.
So how did you find out? So this is an anthology. We all contributed very short pieces. And I got to say, I'm a short nonfiction kind of guy. I really like it because I could read your piece encapsulated, in a short amount of time, and I finished it. I love being
Yes,
able to
yeah,
finish things, right?
yeah, yeah.
And how was that? How was that working on this shorter piece? Or I don't know what your other writing is like, but how was that the process?
I mean, it was like I really enjoyed the process because the thought of writing a novel, which I am in the process of writing a
Yeah.
book or something. But that is just, I mean, it requires so much discipline and so much attention
Yes.
and so much of your kind of not just of your time, but of your like headspace, and you have to carve out time and carve out energy for it. And actually this was a really discreet thing that I could do, which actually got some of the messages that I'm trying to sort of put into my book. I was able to sort of bring in some of those messages and some of those thoughts, and put it into this short story. So, and I actually started. For me, it kind of almost feels like two projects, because I actually wrote the beginning bit of my story. Just sat by my window one day, a couple, maybe like 18 months ago, when I was doing my free writing. So I had a free
Yeah.
writing. So I was free writing and I sat and I was looking at the canal. So I just did some writing about swimming in the water. And then when Hannah spoke to me and asked if I would contribute to the book, then I tied it more into the sort of nonfiction story of that would tie into unexpected gifts. So in a way,
Yeah.
it's kind of two projects, and that's quite nice for me because it what started out really, really like creative and just free flowing, and then I was able to tie it together. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, just and much more, yeah, just much more discreet than a novel. It's like you can do it, you can finish it, you can send it in,
Yeah.
boom, done.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of boom done,
Mm,
that's your part boom done. And
mm.
how was it working with Storyhouse Works? Like we had, there's editors and cover designers and
Yeah,
proofreaders, and how did that go? How was that process?
yeah. I mean, I've been edited before when for writing, so I'm familiar with that process. But I have never really been edited before on my own personal writing. It's always been very professional. Writing.
Oh, that's good.
So
It's funny.
edited personally was different, but also joyous. And it's like, okay, someone else gets to read me and see me and make it better and just like polish it a little bit and make it more consistent.
Oh,
And the editor pulled out a metaphor that I'd used which wasn't quite, which I really loved, but which didn't quite fit. And when she pointed that out, I was like, yeah, actually she's absolutely right. So it feels weird being edited when you're writing something so personal,
yeah. Yeah.
but it's an absolute gift. And Hannah was also brilliant in that process, because she spotted some things that the editor suggested, and Hannah was like, actually, no, let's not touch that because it's too personal. So,
Okay.
so Hannah also played a really interesting role there as well. And Hannah, I know Hannah quite well, so she was, yeah, that also probably helped. Yeah. So it was a great experience. I loved it. Yeah.
Oh. So speaking of the personal elements, so you took out something like, whoop, that's a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
But then working with Hannah and the editing team to, and I totally know what you mean with you say, oh, well, here's this, element of the story, or here's this scene or whatever. Oh, it makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Isn't this obvious?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And then the third party editor who doesn't know
Yeah.
you or your story,
Yeah.
like, yeah, what are you talking about here? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But like you say, it's been like, but no, this is the most important personal, I'm making it up, but
Yeah.
this is the
Yeah.
most important personal element. It must be in. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just not making sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Have to then look at it through their eyes. It really forces you to take a different view to take a much more objective view of your own writing when you've seen it through someone else's eyes. So it's
Yeah.
still a real gift. And yeah, that I think that's one of the things that sort of took away from it the most, really, is that, yeah, letting someone else in is not, yeah, it's scary, but it's ultimately will help to make the whole thing better.
Yeah. You know, you say scary, and
Mm.
also you said we've been talking about how this is short, and you finished it, and we had no deadline, and there are limits and stuff. I I've often helped authors, and they want to, like you said, you're working on a novel, but it's such a big thing, and it's such a
Mm.
huge project, and there are many of them that will never get done.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that's one of the big advantages of an anthology, where it's like, short, and there's limits, and there's a deadline, and there's editors who are going to help work with you. And I really, it's funny because I don't think about anthologies very often, but
mm.
talking about it here, I'm like, oh, there's quite some benefits to this like anthology
Yeah.
format.
And also having Hannah is really driven, and she's really strict with herself in terms of deadlines. And so having Hannah kind of drive the project and be really kind of behind it she does it in a really great way because she's so gentle about it, but that she's really strict with herself, and she's really
Yeah,
demanding of herself. So you want to kind of deliver for her as well. So that having her at the head of the project, I think, also really really helped. And because she's a friend of mine as well, I wanted to make
yeah,
sure I was delivered for her. But yeah, she was.
yeah. With a personal element, how were you? You shared quite a personal story. Was that okay for you to share this personal story, which is now quite public?
Yeah, it was. And I read it to my mum before I submitted it to make sure my
Uh-huh.
mum. I didn't let anyone else read it. I thought she's the only one actually that really needs to see this. And some of the I did take some of the. I scaled back a little bit of the stories about. Okay, I grew up in a pretty poor family, and so, but that's slightly more sensitive for my family because, yeah, we were on welfare benefits and free school meals at points and those kind of things. but I think that's almost harder for my family to sort of to see reflected back. So whilst I do talk about that,
Yeah.
scale that back a little bit. Um, because, and it's also really interesting because whilst we lived, I grew up in sort of relative financial poverty. There was no poverty of anything else. You know, there was no poverty of, there was no poverty of stability. There was no poverty of encouragement, or you know, food was always there, and my mum cooked from scratch, you know, all that. But that
Yeah.
wasn't easy to buy. For, you know, food was expensive, and it was something my mum had to be very, very strategic about. So, so that's the one sort of personal side that I was a bit careful about. Sharing information about my mum's health, I was less concerned about, because my mum's very open about that.
Yeah.
And it's very,
Yeah.
very visible. She's, you know, so yeah, that less so. But yeah, just
Yeah.
you have to be sensitive, right? But I did let my mum read it before, and she was very happy. So
Yeah. You know, I thought this is really insightful what you just said. You said it's, oh, you know, in a way you kind of said this is really for my mom.
mm,
And as an author, we often I think one of the easiest, like the best pieces of writing advice I had ever received was something like you're sitting at a kitchen table with the one you're writing the story for,
mm,
and tell your story like that.
yeah,
Right. So it's
yeah,
like at the kitchen table with your mom
yeah,
and you're telling the story. Because they always say, you know, oh, if you're trying to please everybody, you'll please nobody,
yeah,
that kind of thing. And
yeah,
so it's
absolutely,
just for your mom. And
yeah,
you're allowing the rest of the world to peek in on this
um,
sort of story for your mom. It's kind
yeah.
of
I think
cool.
I'll look at it through. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've not really
Yeah.
heard that before, but yeah, I think that's. I think I was writing it for her, you know, and I wrote
Yeah.
details, some of the small details that I know she would kind of appreciate me remembering. I could almost imagine her reading that and thinking, oh, she remembers that, or she remembers the kind of
Mm.
swimsuit I wore, or, you know, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Do you have any advice for others out there who want to share their story and maybe haven't yet, you know, whether it's the novel or a nonfiction or an anthology, or if they're like stuck or they haven't shared their story and they want to. Any
yeah,
thoughts?
I just think, and I was thinking about this morning actually, you know, about what's going on in the world today, and all of the trauma and all of the stuff people are living through. Like every single person has a story, and not everybody is gifted enough to be able to like communicate that in the most like artful way, whatever. But everybody has a,
Yeah.
and um and you know, I think Hannah always says this as well. Like, you know, if if you don't put it out there, it's gone, it's lost. Um,
Hmm. Wow.
not not on paper. If it's not, you know, if it's not recorded, it's lost. And it doesn't always matter, but like whatever you put out there is a bonus. I think even if it's a paragraph, it's a bonus. It's something you've captured and that you've put on paper and you've put out into the world. So I have to remind myself of that sometimes when I'm getting a bit lost in my writing, and I'm thinking about structure and paragraphs, and then I'm just thinking, do you know what? Sometimes just strip all that back, just put it on paper. If I get run over by a bus tomorrow, there'll be something
Yeah.
read on paper, you know, that is a reflection of my life or of my thoughts or of so yeah, just put it down. Just get it down on paper, and
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. I really like that. That's wow. Powerful stuff. What are you working on? What's if anything is public knowledge? Are you what are you working on now, or what's next for you, or and how did this project sort of springboard anything into life, or
In a way, I think this project kind of gave me an excuse to like leave the other stuff leave the other stuff
oh,
for a bit.
that's great.
um, I yeah, I mean, I'm not writing. I was writing professionally for like more. I was writing for a science magazine, doing scientific, like kind of semi-lay articles on really complex areas of science. So I'm not doing that anymore. So I plan after the summer, and during the summer, actually, I really want to pick up my novel again. And it is, yeah, my novel. it's got some of the themes, a lot of the themes that I wrote about in the short story will be brought in to that. Um, I am just lacking a little, and Bradley, if I'm honest. So I need
Yeah,
to
lacking a little. Sorry, you cut out.
lacking a little discipline. I
Yeah,
with some of Hannah's drive and discipline when it comes to writing. And I
yeah,
also, always as a writer, like there's so much self doubt that comes in, and I can say, oh,
yeah,
just get it down, put it. But there's so much self doubt that comes in. It's like, am I good enough? And I think where I have confidence is I know I've got a creative flair. I know that. I know I can write. I know I can write in a nice way, but am I disciplined and structured enough to actually turn that into you know, a novel with
yeah,
chapters and a preface and all of that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the piece for me that is kind of not missing, but that I need to like work on with
yeah.
as a lot of writers do.
Yeah, of course, of
So,
course. No, it's so funny. I really don't think about anthologies very often, but in this conversation we're having, like, wow, there are so many advantages.
yeah,
It's shorter. We can get it done, and and you have the
yeah,
team behind you, and the
yeah,
editors, and the hey, let's make sure this is clear for people who are not you or your
yeah,
mother.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you have a
And
team. It's a teamwork, it's team effort. Whereas when you're writing your novel,
yeah,
the only person you're going to be accountable to is yourself. No one else cares whether I put my novel out into the world or not. It's only
yeah,
it's me that cares. So with this process and this project, like Hannah cared, the whole team cared, the other contributors cared. You had to deliver on time. So I think that worked for me, having that sort of structure to encase my writing. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, yeah.
Wow, wow. I love it. This has been wonderful. I'm so pleased to have read it and have now met you and had a conversation about this.
Yeah,
It also, kind of like we were talking about offline beforehand, the fact that we're having a conversation about it, the fact that you wrote it, the fact that you submitted it, the fact that it got accepted,
yeah,
it's in the world,
yeah.
we're having a chat about it.
Mm.
It like
Yeah,
brings it to life, right?
yeah,
It's
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
it's really cool.
yeah.
So
It's very true. Like, and that wouldn't have existed without all of those factors. It wouldn't have existed. So yeah, it's
yeah,
nice, and I'm really glad for my mum that there is something that there's something that I could send her. Like I could send her this book. It's like the ultimate thank you, right? It's like the ultimate thank you of the investment and the time and the love and the energy and all of the sacrifices. It's like if I can do one small thing, like just that she can put on her shelf and look at it and think, yeah, that's yeah. So it's yeah, it's an unexpected gift for her.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay. We can't get much of a better wrap up than that. Unexpected gift. That's what the book is called. Hayley Rose. Her story is called Wish You Were Here. She is one of 16, I think, 16 authors who have contributed to this anthology. And you can get the book. It's now available. I think paperback and hardback and ebook and on multiple distributors. You can find out more at storyhouseworks.com/unexpected gifts. And Hayley, this has been a pleasure. I'm thankful for meeting you. I'm thankful for your story. Really, I think our optimistic moms are out there leading the charge together. I'm so grateful for them, and thank you so much for spending the time to tell us about Wish You Were Here.
thank you. It's great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Great. Okay. Bye for now.